Van Jefferson, my third receiver on this list, 13% rostered, so better chance than the other two that he's out there for you. 8 to 10% fab is what I would spend on this guy, potentially even more. Now, he's been solid all year. He's averaging right now 6 targets in 4 of his 8 games. He's on pace in the games where he sees 6+ targets. And I'm going to talk about why I think that's going to be the kind of norm moving forward. But when he's seen 6+ targets, he's on pace for 11 TDs and 933 receiving yards, as well as 232 PPR points. That would put him in top 30 easily among wide receivers. And why do I think that will continue moving forward? Well, very favorable pass schedule. That's one. But also Deshaun Jackson released. He's out of there. We also have Tutu Atwell on the he's done for the year, season-ending injury. So this is it. This is their 3 wide receiver sets. And Van Jefferson's going to absolutely be their biggest lid lifter here. He played 46 of 57 snaps last week. These past 2 weeks, 94% and 84% of snaps and 89% average there across these last 2 weeks. So he already was heavily involved, even with Jackson and Tutu on the roster. Now those guys are either hurt or gone. I think it's just going to be almost an every down player, Van Jefferson. Then you stir in the fact, what if something happens to Robert Woods? What if something happens to Cooper Kupp? God forbid, the MVP of the year. Both of those guys have dealt with injury concerns throughout their career. So it's like a high risk, high reward type of start right now, but it also an ultimate handcuff with benefits. And again, tons of big game upside is like a plug into your flex. I really think this guy has a ton of value moving forward. And he again, 32 routes this last week was just as many as Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. So high upside, usable flex, could bust on you. But anytime he's seen 6+ targets, he's gotten it done. And I really think with those other guys gone, Van Jefferson will do that more often than he has. Again, guys, that thumbs up button, continue to help us grow. Get those questions on in. Let's get that mailbag full. Only 13. Come on, get that numbers up. Those are rookie numbers, Wolfpack. More questions, more likes. Pump us up. We really, really would appreciate that. Thanks again for being here. We already covered Jeremy McNichols. As I said earlier, I think it's the Adrian Peterson show. I do think McNichols sees his role grow to the point that he should be rostered, but where I think I'd spend about $10 on him, I think most people will be spending 30 to 40, hoping that he is the guy. The younger, at this stage, more athletic guy, but I still think Adrian Peterson profiles as that, again, I shouldn't say glove-like because there is no Derrick Henry out there in the world, never mind a 36-year-old Adrian Peterson, but he has that power style, let me engine it out here type of runner there. So I don't buy Jeremy McNichols. I will be going after Derrick Henry more. Then that's it. At quarterback, I really like Taysom Hill. Should he be the guy? There are rumblings today that Phillip Rivers might come out of retirement and go to the Saints. What? That would be pretty wild. I'd love to see it, but I don't buy that. I think they're going to move forward with Taysom Hill, the highest paid backup QB in the league. And I'd spend about 5% fab at only 3% rostered, certainly in 2 QB leagues. And I have some leagues where I was streaming by the week, Tua this week and then Darnold the next. This guy could be your every week starter moving forward. Averaged 21.8 points per game last year as the starter. He actually has the most points per dropback across the last 10 years at 0.94 points per dropback. I know some of that's boosted by his rushing yards and all that, the fact that he doesn't drop back much, but that's still pretty damn impressive how efficient he's been when he's on the NFL field. He has that Konami upside, as we all know. He gets Atlanta in his first game back. I mean, last year he put up against Atlanta 28 and 27 fantasy points in his 2 starts against them. He was the QB6 across his 4 starts, only behind Rodgers, Watson, Mahomes, Cousins, Tannehill, some pretty damn good company there. He just lit it up. This is a top potential 6 QB. He was last year. I don't see any reason why this year would be much different. Mike Thomas hopefully coming back soon as well. I think QB3, QB13, QB8, QB11 in his 4 starts. Top 12 in 3 or 4 weeks, and his worst was QB13. That's pretty damn good numbers. His worst output was 18 points. That's solid. That is very solid. High floor, high ceiling. I think Taysom Hill is definitely a priority for 2 QB leagues, or if you're desperate for a streamer this week, maybe a Brady fill-in, or just a fill-in for the rest of the season. I think Taysom Hill would be your guy. I'd be going hard at him. I have a couple more QBs I'll recommend later, but Taysom Hill, definitely the one I'm going after most. This one's certainly likely to be out there in your leagues. Jamal Agnew for the Jaguars, 2% rostered. I'd spend a nice 5% or so on him. Nothing crazy, just because I don't think you're going to have to get him. I still think he's kind of under the radar right now, but he's been labeled the team's best separator. He led the Jags this last week with 20.3% target share across, not just last week, across the 3 games since DJ Chark's been gone. Last week was his biggest game with 12 targets. He hauled in only 6 of them, 38 yards, nothing crazy, but a touchdown to go with that. So very high upside, 8.3 targets per game. That's pretty dang solid. I don't know why I keep saying dang, but we're going with it tonight, folks. Wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 type of floor there with that type of volume. Urban Meyer's been kind of talking about him as like the next Cordarrelle Patterson, that special teamer that's so dynamite with the balls in his hand. Let's kind of scheme him into the offense more. Trevor Lawrence, I've read a lot about Jamal Agnew today, talking a lot about how he has his trust on big third down conversions. This is a guy he's looking for that's consistently open here. Meanwhile, Laviska Shenault, who's 4 targets compared to 12 for him, droppable at this point, 13 yards. We saw Agnew triple him up in every category in terms of receptions, yards, targets. He's the guy now. And yes, Marvin Jones will have his deep ball role, but only 5 catches for 35 yards, 7 targets. Like Agnew is their number 1 receiver right now in this Cordarrelle role. He's also moving into the backfield kind of all over the face. He's that joker role that we wanted Laviska Shenault to be. So I think moving forward, Agnew's role is going to only continue to climb. They clearly suck. I mean, how many attempts do we have for Trevor Lawrence? 57 this last week. They're just so bad, and they're going to need to continue to chuck. So I think Jamal Agnew is worth your consideration if you're wide receiver needy. Moving on to my number 10 guy, that's Tua Tags. So let's say you miss out on Taysom Hill, or you just need a bye week plug-in and you don't want to pay up for a rest of season type starter. I think Tua is a great potential stream. Yes, he crashed to earth against the Bills. Guess what? That's what everybody does. They haven't allowed more than 5.0 yards per play all season against any QBs, never mind Tua. So that was too bad. That was tough. But what's a perfect remedy? The Houston Texans, who are giving up the 3rd lowest pressure rate right now, and Tua's struggle. That's where you get after him. Is anytime he's got the blitz on him, anytime someone's in his face, he struggles. That kind of makes sense. Shorter guy, all that good stuff. But they are one of the worst in terms of just being right into their coverage shells, not really blitzing, not creative in their defense with Lovie Smith here over in Houston. I think the Dolphins, this is a get-right spot. They're averaging, as we said, 126 pass attempts since Tua returned. Over 40 pass attempts against the Texans defense would make this guy a great play. He was a QB10 when he first came off in week 7, Tua was. Then he was the number 1 QB in week 7 when we recommended him as a streamer. And last week, obviously, again, a dud against the Bills. But 2 of his 3 weeks, he's been top 10, including the number 1 QB performance. And the schedule remains pretty dang soft throughout the rest of the year. We talked about, again, how soft it was with Devontae Parker. Now that all his weapons are going to be there, I think Tua is in the mix for borderline QB1 start the rest of the year. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.